Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. This is the starting point photography segment of Your Mac Life. Giving a wave to everyone out there. Wave again. There you go. How you doing? We were talking on last week's show about gifts to buy the photographer in your life, or gifts for yourself. And someone suggested to me by email, a great gift is, if you don't know what they want, I can guarantee you, even a hobbyist photographer will like this idea. Get them a gift certificate for a print of their photography. You can't say that while you walk out and what is she doing? What are you doing?
That's a nice idea.
Yeah, so whether it be Shutterfly or one of those other companies that will do, you can do a search for them. There's all kinds of them that will do prints or books, a gift certificate for a book. So they can get their own book printed. Any number of sources for that as well. $25, $50 gift certificate so they can get a book of their images printed. Or if you are the kind of person who has access to their Instagram account, you can get books made from their Instagram photos. I wouldn't do that unless they're a really good photographer. You don't want a book full of crappy photos. But you could get them a gift certificate for a hardcover book. I've seen several examples. Apple no longer does it, but you can do a search for any number of companies that will do hardcover books or softcover books. We got a nice one done for $10 because it was on special from a company called Powerbow Press. For those who may be familiar, the company that used to be called Photo Jojo, they're a photography gadget site, has moved into the printed book space, and this is it's called Powerbow Press, P-A-R-A-B-O Press.com, and these are just a book. It's a soft cover book of Instagram photos that I just went out and grabbed just as examples, just a bunch of photos that I had posted on Instagram. And it came out quite nice. And you can actually add caption to the photos. You can have multiple images on one page. I chose not to do that, so I've just got a bunch of pictures, mostly of my beautiful wife. And it's it's nice. The one of the issues I have though is that because it's a soft covered book, the pages curl. So you have to make sure either you lie this in a bookcase so that the pages are held together, but otherwise it's a nice little thing. Powerbow Press, P-A-R-A-B-O Press. Dave D says, yet to find a decent book card vendor. Really? That's interesting, Dave. I haven't done a lot of them, but the ones I found seem to be kind of nice. Got the music still going. Sorry. That was we'll talk about that later. I keep letting the music play over, and you folks in the RC chat room need to remind me that the music is still playing. Please tell me that. The other thing is, you can get them a gift certificate for a MacMan says he did. Sorry, MacMan. Sorry. Music's still going. There you go. Yeah. Look at Canvas prints, because Canvas gives all your photos won't work as Canvas prints. It's very specific. Usually landscape photos work really nice as Canvas, but Canvas gives a really interesting painterly effect to your photos. I've got over there my favorite photo, one of my favorite photos, the strawberry, is on Canvas. One of our listeners got it for me many years ago, and it looks great. And in all these years, it still looks fantastic. DH says, Shawn, comic book protector should hold pages from curling. Thanks very much, DH. As we said before, there's all kinds of books you can get beyond exposure. I couldn't find it last week, and of course, as soon as the show was over, I found it. This is the first edition of the Beyond Exposure book from Brian Peterson. Amazing book. This is the book that got me into photography. It's the reason why I'm a photographer, was because his writing style was so good and so easily understood, and his instructions were so good that I immediately wanted to take more and better pictures because of this book. So if you know, in particular, a DSLR shooter, it's called Understanding Exposure from Brian Peterson. I think it's up to its third edition, so check that out. I love pimping that book. Yeah, Monty, that's a great book. I agree. We talked about camera lens bundles, the camera buckle thing. Don't get the camera buckle thing. That's off. Oh, do not, Melissa will attest to this. Do not buy any of those portable printers that use the zinc ink, Z ink. They're all crap because the zinc ink itself is crap. The printer itself may work well. I reviewed badly my review was very good. The product was shitty. The Life Print photo printers, utterly useless, terrible. It might be useful for a kid who wanted to take photos of his buddies, of his friends, and print them off and give them to his stickers and that kind of thing. But it's too expensive for that. It's going to be $200 plus paper. The image quality just isn't there on any zinc printer. I think HP makes them, Canon makes them, Sony makes one, this Life Print one, because they all use the same ink technology. It's going to be true of all of these compact printers. If it uses the zinc technology, do not buy it for a photographer or for yourself. I'm telling you right now, save your money. You will not get good image quality off of these things. Just by the nature of the zinc ink, it's not possible to get good image quality off of those things. We just were not impressed with those, were we?
No.
For somebody who is a bit of a jokester, a little bit of a practical joker, what you could get them is this thing. This is, I'm going to cover up my wife's beautiful face with this, and it's a camera roll. You know, the old 35 millimeter camera roll stuff, which is kind of neat. Except this one is a toilet roll holder.
Oh, I see. It makes the toilet paper come out in the correct way.
In the correct way, too, exactly. Yes, so if you wanted to have a practical joke as a for somebody, you could always get them especially if they were a film guy. It's $12. So you can always get that for somebody, which I think would be a very funny joke. But make sure you get your wife's permission before you put this on the toilet rolls.
Oh, Dave D wants 10 of those.
There are 10 of those. Another one I really like is a great idea for a photographer is, again, I'll cover Melissa's face up, especially the 5-in-1 multi-disc light reflectors. These are great because they've got, as it says, 5 different ways of reflecting light. Now, this is probably for more of a accomplished, more of a serious amateur at the very least photographer, because these things, you kind of got to know what you're doing when you use them. You can practice with them. The best thing I've ever found them used for is for 2 specific reasons. One, for shade. So if you're out on the beach or a bright area, you can literally hold them over your subject's head to get the harsh light of day off of them. The other one is as a true light reflector. I've used it. One of the issues you're going to have with people that you're shooting on sunny days, even if you're not in bright sunlight, you can have dark shadows because of their forehead, their nose, and maybe their lips and chin. And with the reflector, it's hard to do by yourself, but you can use the reflector to bounce light from the sun up underneath the person's face. So it gets rid of those shadows underneath their eyes and underneath their chin. And because one side of these things is gold, it can give a really nice sunsetty kind of look to your images. So that might be something that you could get the photographer who doesn't already have one.
There's this photograph here of
Sorry?
Rory and I that's beautiful. I don't know if I can. I cut
Can you
and paste that?
cut and paste it into the chat room or text it to me?
It's a pretty photograph of with using the one of those things that you're just talking about. I don't know if that's going to work, is it?
What did you do? Did you put it in the IRC chat room? Or
I did, but I don't think it's going to work. Oh, there we go. It might.
It might.
Anyway, that one was taken up on Soames with the reflector. And it's a beautiful photograph. You can see the golden light on our faces.
I mentioned before the a camera strap for that photographer who's still using the base one that came with their camera. There are much better camera straps. Hidden it. Damn it. The camera strap I like is from a company called Peak Design. Peak Design makes some really great stuff. Peakdesign.com is their website. They make two things that I take with me all the time. Even if I've got a camera strap around my neck, I'll often walk around with the Peak Design. Why am I going to? I don't want to go to products. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the Peak Design website without it taking me to its store. Product support for travel bag, camera gear. There we go. The capture and clutch are the two things that I've used the most from Peak Design. The clutch is a really neat little camera thing. It goes along and you can see it in this picture. It goes underneath the camera and on top of the camera, and you stick your hand into it. It's like a hand strap, and I really like it because it gives me a really good feeling for the camera, especially if I'm walking through crowds, but I want to be able to take a picture very quickly. It lets me have my camera down by my side, but in a way that if I bumped into somebody, it wouldn't knock the clutch out of my hands. It's only $40. It's a good price for this. Peak Design clutch is what it's called. You gotta give that a shot if you can. This is a photography. This is the picture that Melissa was talking about that used a reflector.
You just see that lovely light. Aww.
And I took that, didn't I?
Yes, we're up on Soames.
Yes,
That's
we're up on
the one
Soames.
and only
That's right.
time that Shawn went up Soames Mountain, as he calls it. It's actually a hill, folks.
Look how high off the ground we are there, people. What do you think? Is this a mountain or a hill?
It's a hill, everyone.
My definition of if you can fall off it and die, it's a mountain. So obviously you could fall off this and die. We are several thousand kilometers in the sky. It's obvious.
We are not. But it's lovely, the light that
Yes.
it created.
And this wasn't on a golden hour. This wasn't a sunset shoot or anything else like that.
It was the middle of the day.
It was the middle of the day. And because I used the gold of the reflector, it gave this gorgeous little gold hue to your guys' face. So yeah, the clutch camera is definitely a piece of gear that I would recommend to somebody. And then the other one that I've used on a regular basis is the capture clip. Let me just get this one, the Capture Pro. Oh, sorry, no, go back. Again, Peak Design is the name of the company. I think they're based out of Portland, Oregon. I really like their stuff. Show you the capture. So the capture goes on your belt buckle. Here's a good picture of it here. So it hooks into your belt either in the horizontal or vertical position, and then this plate goes on the bottom of your camera, and the plate slides into the capture thing. Now, a lot of folks will say this is how it attaches to your belt. It just slides, and you slide it in your belt. A lot of folks have asked me about this and expressed concern. Oh, how solid is it? I've never had a problem with the capture, ever feeling any way, shape, or form like my camera was going to fall off of my hip. Like I said, this thing is strapped to your belt, and it's made out of solid metal. I got it around here somewhere. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Found it. So it this is obviously a newer version than the one I've got. So I think we talked about this before. I love the bags from lowpro.com. They make my favorite camera bags, but every photographer is different with the amount of gear they carry and how they want that gear to be in their on their backpack or on their hip or whatever it might be. So you have to watch out for that. I don't know if I would buy a bag for a photographer unless they specifically said they wanted that bag. You were in a camera store and they said, "Oh, I love that bag," kind of stuff. That might be something you might want to give a gift certificate for a particular bag before you actually got the bag itself. I've used this is another recommendation I saw from folks, a 360-degree camera. I don't know if I'd buy this for a photographer unless you knew they wanted a 360 camera. I've used the Ricoh Theta S, which is I think at least one version behind, and while it was a neat little toy, it was exactly that. It was a toy. The image quality was not very good. The video quality was average. The software that Ricoh used to get the images from the camera, from the Ricoh camera onto your iPhone, was painfully slow. Not just because of the fact it's doing a 360-degree photograph. It's very, very slow software. The other downside of 360-degree images is that they're very hard to edit. You can't edit them in Lightroom. You can't edit them on your camera app. You can only edit them using their software. And they're not photography guys, so their software isn't very good. So a 360 camera, while it seems like it might be a fun thing, I don't know that I would buy that for a photographer. I would definitely buy this for a photographer. That's kind of cool. I just like the idea of a camera that's the dial on top of your DSLR, showing the AV, the program mode and shutter priority mode. But this camera is for Canon users. Do not buy this T-shirt if your user is a Nikon user, because they won't like you. They'll think. And the reason I know that is because it uses AV, aperture priority, and then for shutter priority, instead of using S, they use TV. That's how I know it's a Canon one. So don't buy that one for the Nikon people, because they'll just make them mad at you.
Oh, Dave's going to buy 10 of those too.
Dave's going to buy 10 of a lot of things. I think we said before, camera cards, great. SD cards, compact flash cards, depending on what kind of camera cards they already have. The
hard drives.
Hard drives, that's right, is another. That's what we talked about on last week's show.
Get one for Damon.
Hard drives are easy to get. They're a great little gadget to get somebody. I saw on some list they suggested that you get these are called bean bags that photographers would use. So I can't get a bigger picture of this. And
the lens condoms. That's right, Monty.
Oh yes, that's right.
The covered.
The covered lens condoms are definitely when you want to get somebody. These bean bags seem like a good idea until you have to carry them around. And then they become an awful idea. The idea of the bean bag is to allow your photographer to prop his camera up on things to get it level and to get it steady. And like I said, it sounds like a good idea, but this is a 5-pound bag of sand. And you don't want to be carrying those things around. A better idea, if you wanted to get something like this for someone, would be to get your favorite photographer a Gorilla Pod.
I think the Gorilla Pods are much better.
Much lighter.
Much more usable.
Just as usable for low angle stuff. More usable when it comes to wrapping around a tree or a tree branch and things like that.
Yes, or a bridge railing or something.
So that's not something I wouldn't get someone one of these bean bags, because they got to carry it around, and it's a single-use bean bag. It can only be used on a flat surface at that angle, whereas a Gorilla Pod can be used on a whole bunch of different angles. For those of us who live here in the Great White North, this is not a bad idea. Fingerless gloves. Not fingerless, but gloves where the fingers flop over so that they can use their camera. I like that idea.
They're a necessity for Melissa.
Some folks think that's a dumb idea, but living here...
No, I've had those, and they're a very good idea.
They are. They're very, very good idea. If you have somebody who is a vain selfie shooter who constantly needs to shoot their own selfies, you could always buy them this, but I would recommend against it. I would actually say get this person out of your life completely. It's a selfie ring light. It allows them to put this light over their camera and then be able to take better lit selfie photos. You know what? It's just better to just not have this person in your life at all.
Okay.
You don't need a person who needs one of these things.
I'm sorry, where does it go?
It goes on top of your iPhone.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's a ring light, so it's in that circle that ring lights are in, and a ring light as a for a camera can be really interesting, but for selfie shots,
how does it attach?
It just slides over the top. You can see here on the bottom of it, it would it's sort of like spring loaded.
Oh, I see.
Here on the back of it. This part opens up and closes over top of your phone. Yeah, don't buy this. Do not have this person in your life. You don't need people like that in your life at all. You mentioned photo books. This is the single dumbest idea you could possibly have, that you could possibly send someone for a Christmas gift. A bullet. It's actually an 8 gigabyte flash drive.
Oh.
First of all, 8 gigabyte flash drive is a waste of time, but in the shape of a bullet.
Oh.
That's just an awful idea. That's going to get you pulled over in security in a heartbeat.
That is so strange.
What an odd idea for a gift. A bullet flash drive. I get penguin flash drives. I got penguin flash drives. Those make sense. Circular flash drive shaped like cookies, not a problem. Flash drive shaped like cameras, not a problem. But a flash drive shaped like a bullet, do not do that. That thing shouldn't even be on sale, let alone something I would recommend to people. We talked on last week's show about the lenses for iPhones. Do not buy an extra lens for your iPhone that costs less than $100. Those idiots at iMore just posted up the best lens kits for your iPhone, and 3 of the 6 were cheap. This one is $14, and it's a 6-in-1 iPhone kit. Sorry, 5-in-1 iPhone lens kit, including one telephoto lens. I guarantee you this is going to be a piece of shit. And the images you get off of this thing are going to be crap, and it's going to be a waste of time and money. These are undoubtedly probably plastic lenses. If they're not plastic, they're cheap glass. They're not going to be ground well. You're not going to get very much optical clarity of these things. $14 for a 5-in-1 lens kit? No, do not buy this. Do not buy this for a photographer. It's a waste of time. It's complete and utter garbage. Just going through this list. This list is on Photodato or Photodoto. 130 amazing gifts for photographers. There's a lot of printers on this list, and like I said, I wouldn't recommend a printer for anybody on this list. If your photographer likes to shoot indoors or is a homebody type shooter, there are surprisingly a lot of inexpensive light kits that they can buy on Amazon.com. They're called Photography Photo Portrait Studios, and they're basically, I'll show you a picture. They're basically big photo umbrellas with stands and lights, and they're fairly inexpensive. This set here, this is a set of 3, is only $60. Now, I don't know if I'd go for the $60 one. I might spend maybe $100 or more for them, but a lighting setup is not very expensive when it comes to buying this stuff on Amazon.com. We've got a set here in the studio. I've only ever set the whole kit up once or twice. They're a bit of a pain to set up and take down, but if it's somebody who's got a studio setup, they can always use more lights. What about you guys? Do you have any ideas, any suggestions for things that you want to get for Christmas or that you want to give to your favorite photographer, or any advice you need? Send us an email to Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com, and we'll do our best to find the information out for you, whether it be a bag or whether it be a lens or those kinds of things. Let us know at Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com.